Hello and welcome to this week's webcast as part of the Single Sales Principle membership program. On this week's webcast, what I'm going to talk to you about is one of my favourite subjects. It's curiosity. And we talk about it a lot in terms of us having curiosity. In the Single Sales Principle, what you'll see is that the compelling need part is about us having curiosity about our customers. And we spend an awful lot of time as part of the Single Sales Principle program talking about the need to genuinely have curiosity about our customers. It's the only way that we can really get our heads around making sure that we understand our customers well enough to be able to deliver the credible solution to them and ensure that it offers perceived value at the end of the process. But the thing about curiosity is it needs to be a two-way process, or at least it's far more beneficial if we can have it as a two-way process. So we're going to move away from talking about curiosity as a way of us identifying the compelling needs of our buyers and our customers, and talk about generating curiosity in the minds of our buyers and our customers so that they become curious about us. Curiosity, of course, is the name of the recent Mars explorer, the Curiosity rover. And those scientists who were involved in the project would have had a huge level of interest and a huge level of curiosity about what the results were going to be, what the answers to the questions were going to be. Now, you imagine if we can create a situation where our customers are so curious about our products or our services that actually they have that genuine level of excitement to find out more. When they're in that position, you're well on the way to getting them towards buying because they're actively showing interest in what it is that you have to offer. Imagine if they were so curious that they just have a whole list of questions. How can this work? What can this do for me? How can I get hold of it quickly? These sort of questions are the ideal questions that we want our customers, that we want our buyers to be asking us. But there are a lot of challenges that we're faced with when trying to generate this level of curiosity from our customers. The first two sets of problems are really about us, about our approach to curiosity. The first one is kind of a deliberate thing. It's something that we tend to do deliberately. We're a bit nervous about curiosity. We have this idea, curiosity killed the cat. It's a dangerous thing to have customer curiosity in place. And there are some semi-legitimate reasons why we're concerned about having customer curiosity in place. The first one of these is that we might feel we're losing control of the situation. If the customer is asking lots of questions and is leading the direction of the conversation that is being had by probing into different areas that perhaps aren't part of our sales strategy or part of our sales plan, then actually, in some ways, they're in control of the process. And so if we generate curiosity, we're in danger of losing control of the process. And that can be a rather nerve-wracking thing, a nerve-wracking position to be in. But we need to get over that, and I'll come back to it in a second. We need to lose a degree of control. The second one is that we're actually worried about what this curiosity will be. If we allow the customers to pretty much ask us any questions that they want to ask, the danger is they're going to ask something that we don't know the answer to. It's not following our pre-prepared script. And if that's the case, we're legitimately concerned that actually, do you know what? We might not be able to fulfill the needs of the customer in providing the information that they're looking for, and therefore we can be rather worried about it. The third of these is actually that we're on a mission. We want to avoid the curiosity because the more questions they ask, the more information we've got to give them. It just slows the whole process down, and we've got other customers we need to get into. We've got other people we need to go and talk to. We haven't got time for all of this sort of stuff. Now, the problem with all of this is they are deliberate attempts to minimize the amount of curiosity that we're allowing the customers to show for these semi-legitimate reasons, but they're unhelpful. And they're unhelpful because if we are suppressing customer curiosity, effectively we are suppressing their expression of interest in what it is that we have to offer. And that's the last thing that we ever want to do. The second set is not that sort of deliberate attempt to suppress curiosity, but they're more sort of involuntary things that we do. And these are all quite common. The first one is that sometimes we're simply too eager to help our customer. When we're too eager, what we're trying to do is sort of provide all of the answers up front, give them every piece of information they need to know, and give them that level of complete information overload that means they won't have any questions left because we've told them absolutely everything. If we have that level of eagerness in terms of what we do, then there's nothing left for the customer to ask. And actually, it can be a really boring process because they're not involved in it. They don't have the opportunity to show their curiosity, to ask those questions. So we need to make sure that we're not too eager as the process unfolds. The second one is that sometimes we're effectively too helpful. What we want to do is make sure that the customer isn't too open-ended, that they are pushed along the right sort of path so that they can't wander off into uncharted territory. And we tend to do that by basically focusing them down, by narrowing down their options, giving them multiple choice questions. Would you like to do this or would you like to do that? We're only offering them alternatives basically to limit the amount of curiosity that we allow them to show. And although we might be doing it for the purpose of being helpful, it's actually the opposite of that. It's not a very helpful approach to take. The third one is about being too understanding. Understanding your customers is a fantastic thing to do, but you don't need to share every single amount of piece of understanding that you have of your customer. It's not about saying, oh, I know what you mean, and for people like you, it's going to be like this and all of this sort of stuff, because we're predicting stuff, we're anticipating stuff, and we're not letting the customer get involved in the conversation. So we might do that, not deliberately, but because we're trying to do the good thing, we're trying to do the right thing for our customer. But again, they are unhelpful if what we're trying to do, which is a really helpful thing to do, is to generate that level of curiosity. Fundamentally, if we want to create curiosity in our customers, we need to do this one thing and this one thing only. Leave them wanting more. If they want more, they will ask more. They will be on the edge of their seats. They will be saying, but what, but what, but what? And once that starts to happen, you know they're engaged in the process. They know that they're interested in the proposition that you have to offer them. And that is a fantastic place to be in a sales situation. So how do we go about doing that? The two approaches that I tend to use are, firstly, to contract what it is that we actually tell the customer. And the second is to expand our answers to customers. Not all the way, but expand them beyond simply straightforward answers to questions. So let's have a look at each of those in turn. The first one is to start to contract what is actually happening for our customer. Contract the information that we give them. So a few examples of that. The first one up here, of course, the market's changing a lot. It's changing a great deal. The danger then is we go and tell them how the market is changing, what we see as the future development of the market. But let's not do that. Let's wait for them to ask us the question. Likewise, this product, this service, it's not for everyone. You could then go on and explain why it's not for everyone and what type of customers it would suit better and which it would suit less. But that's not helpful. It's far more helpful to leave that thought floating in their mind, leaving them wanting more and say, I wonder what sort of customers it is more or less suitable for. And if they do that, the chances are they're actually going to ask you the question and then they're engaged in the process. The next one down here is, well, of course, there are other alternatives. Don't go straight into telling them what the other alternatives are. Wait for them to ask you. They're then engaged in that process. So with all of these, we're compressing what we say down into a shorter version. We're giving them a little tease, a little taster of the sort of information that is available, but then waiting for them to ask the question to get that additional information. Of course, the last one on here, yeah, that's a possibility. And leave it there. Get them curious. I wonder why it's a possibility. I wonder what I would need to do in order to make that possibility come into fruition. The more we can do that, the more we can engage their brain in the process, they were more likely to ask us questions and show their curiosity in the products and services that we have to offer. So that's the kind of contracting part. Don't tell them everything. Leave your sentences short. Leave them a little bit open-ended. The second part is when we want to make it a little bit bigger. They ask us a particular question, and instead of directly going in and diving in and just answering that question, we answer the question and then add the teaser onto the end of that. Of course, it is available sooner than I've suggested, but there are certain steps we'd need to take. It leaves the question, they're hanging on the edge. Well, what are those steps? And if you can get the customer to ask that question, they're engaged in the process. There's been a lot of interest in this particular product, in this particular service, particularly from one significant customer group. Well, the inevitable question is, which customer group is that? And we get the customer to ask us that question. And then likewise, it can be done, but there is only one way of achieving it. The inevitable question, what is that way of achieving it? The more we can leave these things hanging, the more likely it is that our customers are going to ask us questions. And if they ask us questions, they are engaged in the process. If they're engaged in the process, they're going to be on the hook. And that is where we want them. Because when they're on the hook, we've got the opportunity to start reeling them in. Nice and gently, we're not going to rush through the process. We're still going to apply all of the other core principles of the single sales principle, but they're on the hook. They're engaged in the process. I hope you've enjoyed that really short, snappy video. If you, as usual, you've got any questions, if you want us to cover other topics and those sort of things, don't hesitate to get in touch. It's simon@lamore.com or visit us at the website lamore.com. Thanks for listening and see you next week.